Have you ever dreamed of being a citizen of a brand new country, maybe even buying a piece of it? What if I told you that in the 19th century, one man sold an entire country that didn't even exist? This is the unbelievable story of Gregor MacGregor, a Scottish soldier, adventurer, and quite possibly the most audacious conman in history. Our story begins in the early 1800s. Gregor MacGregor was a man with a flair for the dramatic and an insatiable ambition. After a respectable military career, he sailed to South America. Eager to make a name for himself in the wars for independence raging across the continent, he managed to climb the ranks, earning the title of general, though his actual military achievements were often, let's say, exaggerated. But his real genius wasn't on the battlefield. It was in salesmanship. In 1820, MacGregor returned to London with a spectacular announcement. He declared himself the cacique, or prince, of a newly independent nation called Poyais. Where was this paradise? According to him, it was a lush, fertile land on the Mosquito Coast of modern-day Honduras. He described Poyais in incredible detail. It was a utopia, blessed with rich soil perfect for farming, rivers laced with gold, and vast forests of valuable timber. He claimed the capital, St. Joseph, was a bustling port city with a magnificent opera house, a cathedral, and elegant domed buildings. The natives, he said, were friendly and admired the British, eager for European settlers to arrive. To make his story believable, MacGregor went all out. He produced an elaborate guidebook, over 350 pages long, complete with maps, illustrations of the local flora and fauna, and even sketches of the Poyaisan flag and coat of arms. He set up official Poyaisan legations in London, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. He printed Poyaisan currency, land certificates, and even government bonds. He gave interviews to newspapers, painting a vivid picture of this undiscovered paradise. He was charming, confident, and utterly convincing. London was captivated. This was the era of exploration and colonial expansion. People were desperate for new opportunities and a fresh start. MacGregor's Poyais seemed like the perfect investment. And invest they did. Hundreds of people, from doctors and lawyers to skilled artisans and simple farmers, sold their homes and belongings to buy land in Poyais. They cashed in their life savings to purchase Poyaisian dollars, believing they were getting in on the ground floor of a new and prosperous nation. MacGregor raised the equivalent of millions of dollars in today's money. With their dreams packed into crates, the first 2 shiploads of settlers, about 250 people in total, set sail for Poyais in late 1822 and early 1823. They were filled with hope, expecting to find the thriving colony MacGregor had described. Imagine their journey across the Atlantic, weeks at sea, filled with anticipation for their new lives in St. Joseph. But when they finally arrived on the Mosquito Coast, the dream turned into a nightmare. There was no bustling port city, no opera house, no cathedral, no paved streets. There was nothing, just a desolate, swampy, snake-infested jungle. The friendly natives were understandably wary of these unexpected arrivals. The rich soil was a myth, the rivers held no gold, and the climate was brutal, rife with malaria and yellow fever. They had been sold a complete fabrication. Stranded in the wilderness with dwindling supplies, the settlers began to fall ill. Panic set in. They were thousands of miles from home, in a hostile environment, with no way to escape. It was a humanitarian disaster. The survivors were eventually rescued by a passing ship from Belize. But by then, over half of the original settlers had perished from disease and starvation. They had lost everything: their money, their health, and for many, their lives. When news of the disaster finally trickled back to London, the public was outraged. The Poyaisan bubble burst spectacularly. MacGregor's grand scheme was exposed as a monstrous lie. You'd think this would be the end of his story, that he'd be locked away for good. But Gregor MacGregor was nothing if not resilient. He was arrested, but incredibly, he managed to convince a jury in France that he was the victim, that his own agents in Poyais had failed him. He was acquitted. Unbelievably, he then tried to run the same scam again in Paris, selling more non-existent land in his fake country. For a while, it actually worked. He was a master of reinvention, always staying one step ahead of the law. Eventually, his luck began to run out. After several more close calls with justice, he fled back to South America, the continent where his grand adventure began. He ended up in Venezuela, where, astonishingly, he was welcomed back as a hero of the independence wars. The Venezuelan government, remembering his earlier service, or at least his exaggerated version of it, granted him a full general's pension. Gregor MacGregor, the man who sold a fictional country and caused the deaths of over 100 people, died peacefully in his bed in Caracas in 1845. He was given a full military funeral, honored as a freedom fighter. It's a truly mind-boggling end to one of history's most audacious and tragic cons. The story of Poyais serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of herd mentality and the allure of a story that seems too good to be true.